When I first saw the listing online, the price seemed too good to be true. A 100-year-old lake house, secluded yet close enough to town for groceries and gas. The photos showed an old wooden cabin, weathered but strong, surrounded by pines and overlooking a crystal blue lake. I didn't think twice. After years of city noise and apartment leases, I wanted peace. I wanted something mine. When I arrived, the place smelled like dust and pine resin. The boards creaked under my boots, but the foundation was solid. The air was clean and quiet except for the calls of loons across the water. A few repairs here and there and it would be perfect. That's when I noticed the sign across the road. Welcome to Pine Ridge Lakeside Community. HOA. Managed. I wasn't part of that community. My property was listed as private land. Still, I figured having neighbors nearby couldn't hurt. 2 days after moving in, a knock echoed on my front door. Standing there was a woman in her 50s. Short blonde hair, sunglasses, and a clipboard held like a weapon. "I'm Karen, president of the Pine Ridge HOA," she announced. "You can't park your truck there. It's against community code." I blinked. "Community code? This is my property." She frowned. "All homes around the lake fall under HOA supervision. You'll need to sign the compliance packet. Trash pickup, lawn height, vehicle storage, all regulated." I calmly explained that my deed showed no HOA affiliation, but she cut me off. "Everyone near the lake follows our rules. We'll fine you if you don't." Then she strutted off, leaving a packet of papers on my porch. That night, I checked the county map online. My property lines were clear. The HOA's road and community dock, actually, extended several feet into my land. My house wasn't under their control. They were on my property. The next day, I called Karen to clear things up. Her tone was icy. "You must be mistaken. That map's outdated. The HOA maintains all that land now." I knew right then this wasn't going to be simple. By the weekend, she'd sent letters threatening fines, and 2 of her HOA board members parked outside, inspecting my fence. It wasn't about rules, it was about control. What Karen didn't know yet was that the land survey I ordered would reveal everything, and that the HOA she proudly ran was sitting directly on my legal property. The next week, a white pickup rolled up my driveway. A man stepped out, clipboard in hand, surveying equipment in the back. "You the one who called about boundary verification?" he asked. "Yep," I said, handing him a copy of my deed. "I just want to make sure everything's accurate before this gets messy." The man chuckled. "Show trouble, huh? You're the 3rd one this month." It took 2 days for him to finish. On the 3rd morning, I heard his truck pull up again. He waved me over to a bright orange stake he'd hammered into the ground. "Right here," he said, pointing to the edge of a paved path. "This line marks your northern boundary. That dock, the one with the HOA access-only sign, it's built about 15 feet into your land. Same with that storage shed across the fence. They're technically trespassing." My stomach twisted. 15 feet might not sound like much, but for an HOA, it was a legal nightmare. That evening, I made copies of the survey report and dropped one into Karen's mailbox. The next morning, I found a note taped to my door in bold red marker. "You have no authority to challenge HOA property. Remove your truck and fence immediately or face eviction proceedings." Eviction? From my own land? I marched over to her house. Karen stood in her yard, pruning flowers like she'd been waiting for me. "You're harassing the HOA," she snapped before I could speak. "We've maintained this area for decades. It's community land." I held up the survey papers. "Not according to the county." "You've been using my land for years." Her face went red. "That survey is wrong. I'll call our attorney." "Go ahead," I said. "I've already called the county inspector and a property lawyer. You might want to check your records before threatening eviction again." She froze, realizing this wasn't just another neighbor she could intimidate. That afternoon, 2 more HOA members came to verify the survey. They walked the property with grim faces, taking photos. I could tell they knew the truth, but Karen refused to admit it. The following weekend, I received a certified letter from the HOA board. "Cease all property modifications immediately. HOA will pursue full possession of disputed land through legal channels." I smiled reading it. Because by then I had something they didn't, a century-old title deed, signed in ink confirming every inch of my boundary. Karen thought she could scare me off. She didn't realize I was about to turn her HOA's world upside down. After I received that so-called legal notice, I knew Karen wasn't backing down. For the next few days, her retaliation began in full swing. It started small. My trash bins mysteriously disappeared. The mailman stopped delivering to my box, claiming it had been relocated by HOA order. Then one morning, I woke up to bright orange stickers plastered across my front porch. Code violation, unauthorized structure. The Lakehouse that had stood for over a century now, labeled a code violation. I caught Karen that afternoon with 2 HOA board members, walking around my fence like they owned it. "Remove those stickers," I demanded. She crossed her arms. "Until the dispute is settled, your property is considered in violation of HOA maintenance codes. If you continue resisting, we'll seek court approval for removal." I couldn't believe her nerve. "You can't regulate something you don't own," I said. She smirked. "We'll see." That was the final straw. I called my lawyer, a sharp, quiet man named Mr. Jacobs who'd handled land disputes for decades. After reviewing the survey and title, he leaned back in his chair. "Karen's HOA is trespassing, plain and simple. And if she's filing fraudulent code violations, that's harassment. We'll hit them where it hurts, their insurance and public record." We drafted a formal cease and desist letter demanding they vacate all encroachments on my land within 14 days or face a lawsuit for damages and trespass. I hand-delivered the letter myself, right to Karen's porch. She opened the door, snatched the envelope, and glared at me. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You can't fight the HOA." "Oh, I'm not fighting the HOA," I replied with a grin. "I'm just protecting what's mine." Over the next week, word spread fast. Some of the HOA residents started to question Karen's leadership. One older man named Bill stopped by my property, hat in hand. "Heard you've got the old survey records," he said. "Karen's been running this place like a dictator. If she messed up, she'll take us all down with her." I showed him the documents. His eyes widened. "She built that whole community dock on your land?" 15 feet in, I said. By sunset, several homeowners were whispering around the neighborhood. For the first time, Karen looked nervous. But instead of backing off, she went for the nuclear option, filing an eviction notice in the local court, claiming my house was unlawfully built on HOA property. She had no idea that her own evidence was about to destroy her case and her HOA. The day of the hearing, the small-town courthouse was packed. Half the HOA showed up, whispering in the benches behind me. Karen sat in the front row beside her lawyer, chin raised high like she'd already won. I had my attorney, Mr. Jacobs, sitting calmly beside me, a stack of folders and maps neatly arranged on the table. He looked more like a librarian than a lawyer, but I'd learned by now that he was lethal when it came to facts. When the judge called the case, Karen's lawyer stood first. He spoke about community property, historical boundaries, and maintenance responsibility. His words sounded polished, rehearsed. Then he handed the judge a packet of papers, claiming they proved the HOA's ownership of the disputed land. But Jacobs only smiled. When it was our turn, he stood up slowly and slid a large, yellow document across the bench. "Your Honor," he said, "this is the original deed from 1923. It clearly marks the lake's edge as the boundary. The HOA's facilities, dock, walkway, and shed are entirely within my client's land. The county survey from last month confirms this." He then placed another paper beside it. "And this," he continued, "is the incorporation record of the HOA, founded in 1982, nearly 60 years after the Lakehouse was built. My client's property predates the HOA by generations. They cannot evict him from land they do not own." The courtroom went silent. Karen's lawyer stammered, something about community upkeep. But the judge cut him off. "That's irrelevant. Property rights are determined by title, not neighborhood preference." Then the judge turned to Karen. "Did you authorize the posting of code violations and an attempted eviction?" Karen shifted in her seat. "We were just enforcing community rules. On property that isn't yours?" The judge interrupted sharply. "Mrs. Thompson, your HOA has trespassed and attempted unlawful eviction. This court orders the HOA to remove all structures encroaching on the plaintiff's land within 30 days. Further damages for harassment and property interference will be considered in a separate hearing." Karen's face went pale. The HOA members behind her began whispering again, some glaring at her, others shaking their heads. As we walked out, Bill from the HOA approached me, offering a quiet apology. "Didn't know she'd taken it this far," he said. "We'll make it right." A month later, the dock and shed were gone. Karen had resigned from her position, and word spread that she'd moved away. The lake was quiet again. Sometimes I stand on that dockside, my dock now, and watch the sunset reflect on the water. The old Lakehouse creaks behind me, peaceful and proud. Karen tried to evict me, but all she did was prove one thing. You don't mess with history or a man who knows his land.